As a young man of Caucasian descent, I am predictably a fan of Wes Anderson movies. So when I went to class to see what movie we were going to be watching that week, I was super excited when you told us we were going to be watching Royal Tenenbaums, as it was one of the only movies that I hadn't already seen. Royal Tenenbaums takes on a familiar subject matter for Wes Anderson. An upper middle class family struggles with relationships between themselves and others in a place that feels vaguely like New England. In many ways, it's a classic family drama. You know, a father attempts to reconcile with his adult children as they struggle through their childhood issues, and a lonely woman finds love in an unexpected place. These are familiar storylines that are turned on their head as two of the children begin a quasi incestual relationship, and a friend of the family nearly runs down multiple people in a cocaine fueled car crash. As far as the casting goes, though, Gene Hackman's job as the title character was certainly the most difficult, as he masterfully walked the line between likable bachelor and miserable charlatan. I feel a similar way about Margot Tenenbaum, played by Gwyneth Paltrow. I think that by the time the climax of her part of the story happens, which I would consider her reunion with Richie in the little tent after his attempted suicide, at that point the audience needs to be rooting for her to end up with Richie, who's one of the most likable characters in the movie, despite the fact that she has been spending the majority of the film brooding and sort of treating everyone like shit. To pull that off takes a certain amount of charisma and a real chemistry with Luke Wilson, both of which she has in spades. As for Luke Wilson, this is the most serious part I've ever seen him in, and frankly, he knocked it out of the park. The pain when he finds out that Eli and Margot have been sleeping together was palpable. I also want to take a moment to talk about the brilliance of Alec Baldwin as the narrator. I looked at the casting credits and saw his name, but I couldn't remember where he was in the movie till I recognized his distinctive voice. So much of the character of the movie comes through in the way the narrator is written. Wes Anderson continues to give his movies a very upper-class feel, something that Baldwin achieves when he narrates that Richie would be riding in a third-class stateroom on board the Queen Helena. His trunks would not arrive for 11 days. Simply the fact that he mentioned the exact amount of days it took sounded sort of haughty, sort of nose turned up. In the introduction, the narrator states that Chaz Tenenbaum had an almost preternatural understanding of international finance, which immediately demonstrates that the movie is not going to be communicated through naturalistic language. The writing in the Royal Tenenbaums is not realistic, but it doesn't sound unrealistic in a stilted way, just in a stylized way. It feels normal, actually, once you get into the movie, because everyone sounds that way. It's just another way Anderson draws you into his world. The color palettes, the overabundance of decoration, the music choice, they all create this small universe in each of his films where this is just sort of how people talk. In the grand scheme of Wes Anderson movies, I would have to say that this one hurt. I don't mean it hurt his reputation, I mean it hurt me, because it was so damn effective and so damn engaging that the sad parts were genuinely painful and the happy moments were heartwarming. So thank you, Professor, for showing me this excellent movie, and thank you, Wes Anderson, for making it.